Today I'd like to start out with a story. This story is called A Hole in the Fence. There once was a little boy who had a bad temper. His father gave him a bag of nails and told him that every time he lost his temper, he must hammer a nail into the back of a fence. The first day, the boy had driven 37 nails into the fence. Over the next few weeks, as he learned to control his temper and anger, the number of nails hammered daily gradually dwindled down. He discovered that it was easier to hold his temper than to drive those nails into the fence. Finally, the day came when the boy didn't lose his temper at all. He told his father about it, and his father suggested that the boy now pull out one nail for each day that he was able to hold his temper. The days passed, and finally the young boy was able to tell his father that all the nails were gone. The father took his son by the hand and led him to the fence. He said, "You have done well, my son, but look at the holes in the fence. The fence will never be the same. When you say things in anger, they leave a scar just like this one. You can put a knife in a man and draw it out. It won't matter how many times you say, 'I'm sorry,' the wound is still there. A verbal wound is as bad as a physical one." So why do we talk about this today? If you've heard some of my other podcasts and you've become part of the club, you most likely have heard me talk about the fact that it's very important that you get your mentality in a place where you are treating yourself like a friend. So often, we find it so easy to tear ourselves down and to berate ourselves for things that we're not doing correctly. That mental self-talk, it goes through our minds each and every day. "Oh, you should have gotten up earlier. You should have done that last night. Why didn't you do that? Oh, you're so stupid. This is the reason you're never going to be successful. This is the reason that you're going to fail. Gosh, how did you let yourself get this way? How did you allow that to happen? Why didn't you do that?" If you were to say any of these things to a friend of yours, you probably wouldn't have that friend for very long. If a friend of yours were to say any of these things to you, you'd be shocked and horrified. You'd be completely, bowled over by the fact that they were treating you so poorly. So why is it that it's okay for us to do this to ourselves? Is it motivating? Do we think that tearing someone down is a really great form of pushing them, that tough love, in order to force them to get to where they need to be? Most likely we'd say no. Most likely we'd say this is a bad parenting style or a bad way to be a good friend. This is not an example of a good friend. So again, why do we do it to ourselves? Ultimately, again, I think deep down we justify the fact that we're getting frustrations out, frustrations that we're not somewhere else that we'd like to be. We're angry, and those emotions are coming out that something hasn't been done yet about certain problems that we're looking to tackle, whether it's the scale or maybe anything else that you're just berating yourself for. Maybe you're frustrated that you haven't gotten yourself organized or some sort of routine on track, whatever it might be. So in one way, I think some of the reason that we do this is that we're mentally venting our emotions, but remembering and actually sitting down and clearly thinking about this fact and knowing that it's not actually going to help produce the solution that we are looking to create. The fact that negative self-talk and that berating language is going to just punch a hole in our fence. And as it continues to develop holes. Now, in our personal metaphor, I'd like to point out that we talk about weight loss like, the journey of weight loss. And it's really the journey of your life. It's the fact that you're trying to figure out the best ways to talk to yourself mentally, the best ways to eat, the best ways to move each and every day to make yourself the healthiest, the happiest, the most positive, to give yourself the absolute best day, make the most progress, achieve the most success, and move forward on your goals every single day so that you're constantly working towards meeting those goals, finding ways to meet them that are comfortable and something that you can implement for life. And so when we talk about weight loss as a journey, a lot of times you'll hear me use the metaphor of being in a ship. and, picturing this little sailboat on the water, that is you, and you're navigating the waves of life, because each and every day the sea is not particularly perfectly flat and calm, and often we do say to ourselves, oh, I'll get to that once things calm down. I'll get to that eventually when the waves stop. Well, the sea is never flat and calm. There's always waves, no matter how small, whether it's ripples or huge ones. That is what you are navigating day in and day out. So think about when you have this negative self-talk, you're really just punching a hole, not so much in a fence, but in your ship. You're taking on water and slowing down your progress, or perhaps punching holes in your sail and keeping it so that the wind can't support blowing against the sail as strongly as it might had otherwise. Think about each time that you treat yourself in a way that you would never, ever think to treat others, that you are just slowing your own progress. So, how do we stop this? First and foremost, we need to identify when we're doing this. I think one of the other big pieces about this negative self-talk is it's so ingrained and it's such a habit that we don't even realize sometimes that we're doing it. So this is again why we are so big on tracking things. You'll notice if you become a member of Compass Club, or if you are a member of Compass Club, in the back of your monthly planner that we mail straight to your door, we include a lot of lined pages. These are your travel log pages. These are where you need to journal, where you need to write down what's going on, whether you're just jotting down a few simple notes to yourself or reminders to yourself, whether you're filling out the actual journal prompts that we put in the course. If you're not quite sure what to say or what to write, that's where we give you a little guidance there. As you journal and write these things, the goal is to start to identify these challenges and these problems and these things holding you back. So first things first, I want you this week to sit down, and if you have a Compass Club planner, use that. If you don't, go ahead and grab your own journal and start to write down and track all of the times. Catch those times that you speak negatively to yourself. After all, think of yourself as a different person. If you were to be hanging out with a friend of yours and they were to say some of these things, you certainly would remember. If someone were to berate you and say, gosh, you're so stupid, why didn't you get up earlier today? You certainly would recall that. You would call up another friend and be like, oh my gosh, you cannot believe what such and so said to me. She just totally went nuts on me. I can't believe it. You would remember. So try to first and foremost catch when you're giving yourself those negative thoughts, and when you're punching holes in that ship or that sail, when you're slowing down your own progress just by speaking to yourself this way. Now think to yourself, because you know the answer, what would be a more positive solution? What would actually patch those holes and help move your ship forward? Think about what you would say to a friend. If someone came to you and said, oh man, I was really hoping to get up early today. I'm really frustrated. I just couldn't get out of bed. You would probably say something like, it's okay. Why don't you just try to fit that in later, or fit that in on your lunch break? Or here's some ideas on how you can get up a little earlier tomorrow. Knowing that every single challenge is an opportunity to reflect upon it and say to yourself, okay, here's the problem. What are some solutions? And to use that creative mind, the fact that we have uber creative minds that constantly figure out creative ways to berate ourselves, turn around and utilize that same creativity in a positive way. It takes a little forethought because it's not habitual just yet. So this is why we have to stop, think, identify, catch ourselves, jot it down, and then that will start to help us notice the next time we do it and the next time we do it. And then you can start to reflect, step back, and think about it like, a teacher in your classroom was saying, okay, here's what was said. What are some better alternatives? I guarantee you can come up with a long list of things that you would objectively be able to give solutions for that situation. When it's not you, take your emotions out of the situation. Think about it logically. Think about it objectively. Think about it like you're speaking to someone else. And I'll bet that you'll come up with a lot of different things that you can do differently that are going to be way more constructive and will help to patch those holes that negative, constant, giving yourself that tearing down, that lashing is creating at this moment. So today, I just want to leave you with that thought. Think about these things. Think about how you can help improve your own progress. Start jotting down those times that those thoughts come through your mind, and be aware. Get yourself in that mindset today of just sitting back and almost like a mental observer of your own inner thoughts. Quizzically think about the fact that, oh, look how I'm getting frustrated here. Look what I'm saying to myself here. Identify, and let's see if we can come up with some solutions that will help you patch those holes and speed your progress. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day. Today, I'd like to start out with a story. This story is called